That's the life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. Gotta get your arms way up in a cage and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loom that's right. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it a whirl. Hello, welcome to my world.
What's going on, you Facebook Live and YouTube Live fishing freaks? Welcome to this episode of On Another Line Live. Got a few days here before Christmas. We're going to talk some wintertime bass fishing. JR had some stuff to do this evening. He may or may not join us. We'll have to see. With that being said, really quick, right off the rip, you guys know the deal. This episode is brought to you by Hannah Sublet Insurance Broker, protecting your health, securing your future. 740-456-7944. Give her a call if you need some health or life insurance. Excuse me. Again, she can sell Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio. So if you're looking for something like that, definitely give her a call. Wintertime holiday fishing series. With that being said, it is extremely cold outside. It's really not that bad right now. It's 39 degrees, which seems like weird when I say that it's not that bad, 39 degrees. But considering the last couple of days here in southern Ohio, it has been extremely frigid. Like at one point, it was like 3 degrees. Real feel was like -2 over the last couple of days. It's been really crazy. I've been having some problems with my my central heat and air, or central heat, for the last year. I knew the problem. What it was a pressure switch. I ended up buying a pressure switch this summer, knowing that I was going to need to replace it. Forgot all about it. Put it in a cabinet in my garage. My heat went out the other night. It was super cold. So I was out in my garage changing a pressure switch on my HVAC unit when it was like 4 degrees outside. But thankful that I knew enough about it to get it fixed, and I didn't go without heat more than a couple minutes, which was great. Always good to be prepared. But with this weather changing, one of the craziest things we're going to have to look at is over the next few days, we're going to see a really crazy weather pattern here. And that's going to be, we're going to go from like -0 temps up to like 55 to 60 degrees this weekend, which is crazy. But one of the things that I like to attempt to do is get out, obviously, on the water as much as I can. I'm sure you guys are the same way. But when it comes down to that, if there's a solid 2 or 3 days where the water temperature or the air temperature gets unseasonably warm, you know, from 7 degrees to 60 degrees, that is very unseasonably warm. Fish will bite, man. Just a couple degree water temperature change, it actually brings them, to feeding a little bit more heavy. You know, we're getting into that situation now where the water temperature is really cold. I went down on whatever day it was. I think it was Saturday. I went down to the Greenup Dam, tried to catch some sauger and walleye or whatever would bite. I threw a lot of jig heads, jig head minnows, threw a lot of stuff like curly tail grubs, threw some Kitex. I just don't think I had big enough weight to get down to the fish. I only had a 1/4 ounce weight. I think you need to be bigger than that. I didn't catch a single fish, didn't have a single bite, didn't see a single fish. There was 3 other people down there fishing with me, and I never saw them catch anything either. Just the way that goes. But right now, you're getting to that point of the winter where folks, fish are going to start schooling up, especially bass. Now, I'm not sure why that is. I assume that they're just chasing forage. It can't be for heat. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they just feel a lot, safer in packs. They're going to, early winter like it is right now. You're looking at, I guess it is really, first of winter, but you're looking at that 15 to 25 foot range normally when it gets here. Now, when you get colder in the months, throughout the winter here in Ohio, I like to target fish anywhere from that 25 to 40 foot range and even deeper if you have that in your lakes. For example, if you get on a Del Hollow, place like that, 40 foot's not going to cut it. Some of these fish are going to be 80 to 100 foot deep, which was crazy. That's one of the things that I keep harping about with forward-facing sonar is the fact that I couldn't imagine catching fish based on the the knowledge that I wouldn't have had with forward facing sonar at Del Hollow, because I'd never been there. I'd only been there one time when Kyle and I was there. But we're catching fish in 80 foot of water. And that was 100% because of forward facing sonar. Love it or hate it, that's the only reason we were catching fish. Would I just be throwing a single jig head minnow out in 80 foot of water? No way. There's no way in heck I would ever do that, because the odds of you actually bringing that past a fish without actually seeing them, slim to none. Slim just left town, and none's probably not coming back either. So it was a lot of difference, but that was one of the things that it taught me, is to look for fish in even deeper water than I would have normally looked for fish. One of the things that I could tell you about that is the fact that if you look at, I was standing on the front of my boat. My boat's a 21-foot boat, 21 and a half foot or whatever it is. It's a 201 Pro XL Stratus. When I stand on the front of a boat on the trolling motor, and I look back at the motor, that's 20 foot-ish, right? And I look at that, and I was like, that's really not that deep. I mean, when you think 20 feet, you're like, oh my God, 20 feet is forever deep. And I, over the last couple of years, have been able to get out of that mentality to realize that, 20 foot is not that deep to a fish. Like, they can travel 20 foot in a split second, especially in the summertime. You have a spot or a smallmouth or a largemouth even, they will cover a lot of distance in a very short amount of time. So that 20 foot range, I had to kind of get out of my own head and figure it out. Gary Timberlake in the house. What's up, buddy? Andrew Six. What's up, man? I talked to JR the other day. I told him that you were looking for a swim bait rod. He has that, I don't know if it's an X Pride or whatever, for $150 is a great deal. I think you got a hold of it. What's up, Carl? Happy holidays, buddy. Merry Christmas to you as well. Getting close. I mean, being July, or July, I wish it was July 16th. December 16th, Christmas Eve, next Wednesday, Christmas Day, the 25th. I will tell you, I am getting ready to strike up the Chasing a Cold Water Giant series again. I don't know what episode I'm on, 6, 7, somewhere in there. Wait a minute, I didn't do that. 6 or 8, I didn't do that. Don't want that 6, 7 meme to hit here. But I'm on, several episodes in. I've tried everything from, small finesse baits to jerk baits to jigs to a lot of different things. I even threw a glide bait for a while that was painted by a follower on my channel over in Ashland or Catlettsburg, which I'm still going to throw this year. But my goal for the next episode of Chasing a Cold Water Giant is going to be throwing big glide baits. And you guys may have saw it the other day, the video I posted on YouTube and Facebook, me and JR up in his garage. He was one of the first people to get his hands on the new Shimano Outlier rod. The Shimano Outlier is actually Shimano's kind of entry into the glide bait world, or bigger bait world. These things come in a whole lot of different, I don't know, like, they're a lot of different powers, a lot of different lengths. They're fairly long. Like, I think the shortest one's like 7.2, which is normally, it's normal bass size rod. The one JR has is a 7.9 medium heavy. They make a 7.10 heavy. There's like a 7.11, or it's a 7. I think JR's is a 7.10 medium heavy. There's a 7.11 heavy. There's like an 8 foot extra heavy. There's like an 8.1 extra heavy. There's like, these are big rods, right? They're not for the faint of heart. JR's rod, I think, is the medium heavy. It's a 7.10 medium heavy, I believe, if I'm speaking correctly. And it will go from a 1 ounce bait all the way up to a 4 ounce bait, which is crazy. But I'm going to be buying one of those Outliers myself, and I'm going to borrow JR's unless he goes fishing with me, and we'll just make him bring his. I'm going to throw some glide baits out there all day. Now, it may be a bust, but I've had a lot of people telling me that glide baits out there, one, produce bigger fish if you can catch them. Two, you can get fish to chase it so you can see them at least, which is a good thing. Somebody told me that they, have been throwing trout-sized baits that are 12 inches plus long, like big jointed baits. And they said they've caught several big fish out of there, nothing in the double-digit range. I've heard tell, I don't know how much it is. Yep, believe it was an E6X, man. What's up, Lightning? Yes, sir, Mark. Big deal. That's the deal, man. I'm going to go out, try it this weekend too. Rain, shine, snow, I don't care. I'm going. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check. I'll check it out, El Rey. That's one of my favorite go-to baits, anyhow. Um, I am going to start Andrew in soon coming up. I just don't have time right now. Eventually, I will. Probably going to dive into that this winter when fishing slows down to a non-existent thing for me, and I'll get some out. But there's just life happens sometimes. But that's my goal. So the Chasing a Coldwater Giant series is coming back, and I enjoy that series just for the simple fact that there are giant fish in Greenbow. I was calling it Lake X for a while. People pinpointed it. Obviously, they're like, "That's Greenbow." Yep, you're right. True story, Greenbow. It is absolutely the biggest bass fishing hole that we have or the biggest lake, or the lake with the biggest bass in it. It is not the biggest lake. It's not very big at all. You can go out there and idle with your big motor and be to the very back of it in 10 minutes. It's a small lake. Troll all the way around it twice in one day if you wanted to, very easily. But I have heard from several people in the know, and again, I don't have data to back this up, so this is hearsay for me. But according to two different people that I've talked to that know people on the DNR, over the last 10 years, they have done krill surveys out there by shocking fish in Greenbow to look at the size and fish population within there. And I've been told by two separate people at two different times that the DNR, and again, this is hearsay. I don't know if this is 100% true, so don't don't burn me at the stake. But they told me that two different people told me that they shocked up two fish over the last 10 years, and it could very well have been the same fish, but it was over 15 pounds. And that's really tough to believe from a lake around here. However, there's usually at least one or two fish that I know come out of there that are close to 9. I think it was a 814. I think was the biggest one I saw last year. I'm sure there's bigger fish that nobody talks about. I'm almost 100% positive that 10.5 or whatever was caught that went viral for a while was caught at Greenbow. It didn't say where it was at. It just said, northern Kentucky. The trees and stuff kind of look similar like it, but it's totally up to, whatever. But I could imagine, man, a 15-pound bass, if that is actually true, that would surprise the heck out of me, but not a Greenbow. I just think that the fish are in there. You just got to find them. Man, I got some musky baits that are, you guys can't see them, but I got some up here. I don't know where they came from. I really don't have no clue, but the price tag is still on this one, $7. So that's a pretty good piece of wood for $7. This must be older than Methuselah. I figure this bait costs you $27 or more now. Line through, and then here's another. This one, a big. I assume this is probably a big walking topwater bait. $10 on this one. I don't know if these are at yard sale prices or what have you, but pretty daggone cool. I think this is probably turned on a lathe. You could see there's like a step down right here. That's actually lead. Must be tail weighted. I don't know. Pretty cool. I got a couple of those things. Actually. I got a couple more up there, but those are definitely the coolest ones. Lake Fork. I should take this thing to Lake Fork. For a 10-pound bass, that's doable. These are obviously definitely handmade. Pretty cool paint job on this thing. Wire through. Giant, like 3/0 or 4/0. They feel like Eagle Claw because they are dull as all get out. I don't know, pretty cool stuff. Big baits. Again, I've caught some small fish on big baits. What I mean by that, I was throwing a 16-inch worm, big ribbon tail a couple years ago at Grayson, and caught an 8-inch bass on a 16-inch worm. It was double the size of the bass I caught, which is crazy. But they will eat it for sure. Like I said, man, I don't know. You would know way more about it than I would. It's I don't know. They're cool looking. I don't know where they came from. To be honest with you, they just showed up here one day, and I'm not kidding you. Like they must have been here. So I'm living in my dad's old house. So probably something that he was given or he had bought. He was traveling down to Cave Run to catch fish down there sometime. So he might have, ran across somebody that was musky fishing or whatever. Sorry, guys. I'm sharing our post out. Wintertime fishing. So again, the weird thing about Greenbow is that there's so much grass in that lake, and it's like bubonic, man. That stuff, it stays green forever. I remember fishing way into January last year, and the grass that was in the lake was still green. Now, was it dying off? Yes. It wasn't like summertime green, but we're talking 45-degree water temperature, and the grass in that lake was still green. Now, one of the things that I've found with that lake is that the lake fish is a lot different. Will do, man. Golly, 5 foot on a long glide. That's what I'm talking about. But Greenbow fish is a lot different than most other lakes that I fish because some of the banks are really shallow. I mean, they'll go up to like 1 or 2 foot right next to the bank. And obviously, the farther you go, it's going to go up to 0 foot. But some of the banks there are just sheer drop offs. They may be 40 foot off, 10 foot off the bank, maybe just a sheer rock drop or sheer rock bluff for 40 foot deep. And I'm going to start targeting those rock bluffs a lot more this year when it comes to chasing a cold water giant, just for the simple fact that in the wintertime, a fish's metabolism slows down a lot after the water temperature gets down or at or below 50 degrees. Just from the research that I know about, they eat less. They expend less energy because they don't want to, tire their stuff out. They don't want to go out and just exude all this energy to chase bait fish. So they will look for bigger fish, one bigger meal a day as opposed to 10 smaller meals a day. Or maybe they eat once every 2 days at this point. With their metabolism being slower, that means their body's going to digest that fish slower that they've ate or that krill or whatever they're eating. So it may take them more time to actually digest that and get rid of it so they can actually still have that and are building or actually, consuming it and having energy built from that. Now, so when you look at that, though, one of the things that I like to dive into in the wintertime, and I'm really going to kind of dive into it, especially at Greenbow this year, is looking for those fish being suspended on a sheer rock bluff. Now, there is a lot of different things to be said by that. One is a fish can go vertically in the water column more easily to chase fish. If you think about it, it's just like a shark driving bait fish up to the bank, right? It's basically they're using that wall as a secondary defense member. They have somebody like they're pack hunting, but they're by themselves. They're using that wall as their advantage. Most of the time bass are opportunistic feeders for one, but two, they feed up. That's why their eyes are placed similar on the side of their face, but they're more up towards the upper quadrant of their head. So that's why bass more often than not will feed up to try to eat something. Whereas, they'll obviously go down to eat things because if they didn't do that, there would be no crawfish ever eaten. It wouldn't be one of their favorite foods, etc. Now, they will, slant their body to actually feed on the bottom, but I think that they have to want to be feeding on that bottom so they know what kind of forage they're looking for. If you have a fish that is on a rock bluff and it's 40 feet above them, and the water is really, really clear, i.e., just like Greenbow is. I mean, it's like 15-foot visibility all the time. So if you're looking there, fish can see way better in underwater than we can. So they can now see that fish. If they're 38 foot of water, they're looking directly up that bank or up that rock cliff, and they could see that fish or that whatever they're looking for up that bank and feed up to get it. Another thing about that is that those rocks, especially how much is exposed to sunlight, hold temperature, right? So as sun beats down on it, even if it's 1 or 2 degrees difference, it's going to warm that water up just a little bit more than it would normally. Early spring go to local waters like March or April. You talk about places to fish, or I got you. My favorite bait in early spring, local waters. Definitely going to be a spinnerbait. Really love a spinnerbait. I have come up with some baits here that there's not a lot of people that know about. And let me see if I can find a couple of them here. See if I can. I'm having a brain fart right now. Shimano makes a Macbeth flat, which I really like, but there is one that I can't think of the name of it for nothing. I've had a crazy day today. Everything was wild. The Enber, ENBER 60 SP. It is a 60 millimeter bait. Most of the same colors that you can get in the let me share my screen here. I'm going to put you guys on a little secret. There's not too many people that stock these things locally, but I guarantee you can talk Brad over at Borders into ordering you some. I probably got 20 of these things. Shimano Ember 60 SP crankbait, come in a lot of different colors. This clear red, surprisingly, is one of my favorite colors, especially in the spring. ST purple here is an awesome color as well. And there's one more. I think it's called, this Hasu. Really love it too. Kind of looks like a thread fin. The greatest thing about this bait is that, again, it's 60 millimeters, so it's not that long. We're looking at it's 2.25 inches roughly. This bait has flash boost technology in it. Let's see if I can find one that actually you can probably see a little better. It's not that one, but most people say that it's kind of a gimmick. I am, on the other hand, do not think so. There you go. You can see it there in the Pro Blue. Couple different things here. Let's zoom this in so I can show you a little better here. So you can actually see it. You can see this spring right here, and you can see this spring right here. And inside here, there is a metal foil tab in here. And you may be thinking to yourself, why the heck does that matter? This crankbait's going to be wobbling all over the place. And you're like, what? Why does that need flash boost technology when there is no way a fish is going to be able to see that thing is flashing when it's going by at Mach Jesus? Well, that's what's so cool about this bait right here, is that this bait is a true suspending crankbait. What I mean by that is that you could fish this thing like a crankbait or a jerkbait or both. This has also the weight transfer system. You can see this channel here in the belly. They all have this. This is jet boost technology. It has a weight in here. When you cast it, it goes to the back of the bait, which I don't think, in my opinion, would make a huge difference. However, I fish these on a spinning rod solely. I don't fish them on any kind of this is like 7.2 medium spinning rod, braid to fluorocarbon, but you can cast these things an absolute country mile when it comes to throwing it on spinning gear. But again, the reason I throw it on spinning gear is the fact that you can fish this thing like a modified jerkbait or a crankbait that truly suspends. And what I mean by this You launch this baby out there 40 yards or whatever you're able to cast it with your spinning gear. When you reel it down, and I don't even know how, I think it's probably 3 to 5 foot. Let's make sure that I am saying that correctly. Let's find out. It says 6 feet, so I'll go with that. But the great thing about this is when you stop reeling it, it doesn't start floating back up. 99% of all other crankbaits on the planet, unless they're broken or cracked, when you swim it down, when you stop it, it will immediately start floating back up. Unless you're throwing like a rattle trap or something like that, then it just sinks like a freaking brick, right? With this bait, you can reel it down to like 6 feet, and then you could start jerking it like a jerk bait and have it fully suspend at 6 feet. And then you could start reeling it again like a crankbait, maybe stop it, jerk it some like a jerk bait. You're going to create a really erratic action with this bait because you can fish it 10 different ways, right? You could just jerk it like a jerk bait. You can do cranking it. You can do all kind of different things. The retrieve matters with this bait. This is definitely one of those that I'm definitely going to throw. I have probably 15 of them in my boat already. They're awesome. Sweet, Shane. I appreciate that, man. River to Sea Tactical DD 3-inch. See if I can find that. Very cool looking bait there. True Shad. Mirrored Minnow is a bestseller. Summer. That's like a sexy shad. A blood crawl. That's a sweet color too. Metallic shad. You cannot not call that the Metallica shad. I can't. I won't do it. Dude, that's a sweet one too. Man, I think so. I have to check those out. I haven't seen a ton of their crankbaits. I know that they were the originator of the plopper. Nate Wood in the house. What's up, man? Thanks for joining us. No problem, Gary. Again, go over to Borders. Tell Brad I told you to order some Ember 60 SPs. He'll know exactly what's up. But back to your. If we get back. Come on, what? There we go. Finally. It's a great bait. Early springtime, late fall, definitely going to be throwing a spinner bait. This time of year, you can't not throw an Alabama rig. Be mindful though, wherever you're at, there are different regulations. In Ohio, I think you can only have 3 hooks. Kentucky, I believe you can have 5. Tennessee, I believe, is only 3. I could be wrong. Make sure you check your local regulations where you're fishing at, because again, there are certain. You can have as many heads as you want. Like you can have those little dummy heads that kind of screw lock all your fish baits on, but you cannot have more than 3 hooks in Ohio unless they've changed that. I know that you can have 5 in Kentucky. I'm thinking Tennessee is 3. I'm thinking that because of Chickamauga, but don't quote me on that. It's definitely something you're going to be throwing. Most of the time, people anymore throw blade baits in this time of year, especially in the springtime. But if I had to choose 3 baits in the springtime or in the fall that I was going to throw to try to catch a bass feeding, chasing, definitely going to be some kind of crankbait. There's too many to list. That Ember I talked to you about, the Shimano Macbeth Flat is awesome. Any of you got the Chick Magnet, which is really good. I really like it a lot. It's a balsa bait. You have those Berkeley Fritz sides, phenomenal, really good. Anything flat sided. The deal is with a flat side crankbait, in my honest opinion, and my what I know little about as far as like just what I see underwater, a flat sided crankbait has a really tight action. It doesn't do that big wobbly action. Like if you think about like a KVD 1.5 or a 2.5 or 3.0, or if you get something like a 5XD, 3XD, something that has a big tail wag on it. And if you look at, go out and look at your forage in your lake. A lot of times right now you'll see shad, threadfin, stuff like that, all bunched up together. Obviously, a lot of times they're bunched up together 100% of the time anyway. But go take a look at them. As the water gets colder, they get a little bit more tight wobbling action. They just don't expend as much energy to get, they're all in a big group. And I think that has something to do with it. Flat sizes have a really tight wobble. There are some lips that are different. You can see some crankbaits have something like a coffin bill versus a rounded bill versus a square bill crankbait. They all have different actions in the water. If I were going to tell you about a crankbait that you're going to fish when it gets cold all the way up until the springtime, look for something that has a really tight wobbling action, something like those baits I just said, the Ember. Look at the Macbeth flat. Look at the Fritz sides, whether that be the 5 or the 7. Another good bait is the Rapala Shad Rap. The Shad Rap, I think I throw the 5. Freaking awesome bait this time of year. It's a long, slender bait, similar to that Ember I just showed you. Has a tight wobbling action. I really like the gold one, to be honest with you. It's a really good collar. When it gets cold. Sweet, that's awesome, man. Good to know. Thank you. Whoo, baby. Oh yeah, so live target bait ball, that was a big deal. Pretty good stuff. Spinner bait is definitely gonna be something I'm gonna throw. And if I'm attempting to get fish to bite a something like if they're chasing, obviously if we're talking about bottom contact baits, my baits are going to be different than that. But if I want to find something that they're chasing, my third favorite bait in the wintertime is going to be some sort of lipless crankbait, whether that be a red eye shad, whether that be one of the Jackal TN60s, TN70s, even the TN80s. If you really want to throw something really big, they're like 1 ounce, man, if you really want to get down there. And those are the baits I'm going to throw. If you're talking about bottom contact baits, something that if they're not just chasing, a big jig, something that's going to have a lot of, a big profile, something like a 3/4 ounce lead football head with maybe live skirt material, so the live rubber that flares out, it floats a lot, and I want to find something that has a big profile to it. I'm going to throw this year I'm going to start throwing that smaller bodega from 6 cents. I think it's going to be a great trailer, especially in the wintertime, something they have a lot more, they're looking for sustenance and bigger packages in the wintertime because, again, they want something that's going to hold them over for, hours at a time, if not days at a time, depending on the fish and where they're at. So that big, I don't know the big 7 or 8 inch bodega. I don't know if that's going to be something around here. It might be something I throw on a Carolina rig in the summertime. Definitely see myself doing that. But the bodega from 6 cents is going to be awesome on those jigs. I can't remember. It's like a 4-inch version, I think, on a big jig. Black and blue, really can't go wrong with that color. You can fish any color you want as long as it's green pumpkin. I like to throw, something like I was throwing the NetBait Paca Slim as a trailer for a while. Still do when I want something a little slimmer profile. I still throw like a KVD Perfect Plastic Rodent, like the 4-inch version on a big jig is definitely something I'll do. I will, in the wintertime, I slow down to do a lot more finesse fishing. I definitely pick up the Ned rig a lot more in the wintertime, especially if I'm looking for more bites, more quantity bites, more than quality. I've caught some big fish on a Ned rig, but I've never caught any absolute giants. And then last but not least, I'm going to have something that's going to be Texas rigged on there. Probably going to be some kind of crawl style bait. Again, you guys know my love for the Jackal chunk crawl, which as far as I know is discontinued. I probably have 15 bags still in my garage so that I use sparingly. But those are really good on a Texas rig. Zoom speed crawl is probably the #1 bait I've caught more fish on it than the planet Earth, with that, no doubt. one of the 3.5-inch Zoom Speed Crawl in green pumpkin candy. I'm going to be looking at like a 1/4 ounce weight, something that falls a little slower, and that's going to be my go-to. Old school Rapala fat wrap. I think I know what you're talking about. Let me see what I can. Yes. That's most of their stuff is balsa baits too, but I still see it here. I think that's the one with the cupped lip, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, that's it. That's awesome, man. I forgot all about that bait. Golly, dude. Yeah, man. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, you were 2 minutes from my house. So don't you ever get back up this way doing whatever, holler at me for sure. Yes, sir, man. Those Rapala glass shad wraps are awesome too. They are a super nice looking bait. I like the Shad Wrap 7 in what is it, blue? Let me see here. I think it's a Shad Wrap 7, but you know, of course, they always have it in the in that they call it silver or whatever because that's like their go-to. Like how many baits have we? You know, it's crazy how many times I will pick up a bait and then you just stop throwing it. For example, like when I was a kid, my go-to bait in the strip mines were these 4-inch Zoom U-tail in any color you wanted, but they were red shad was my favorite. They were very small. Throw them on like a 2-aught offset shank worm hook, 16th ounce weight that wasn't pegged. It was just free floating on the line. I caught so many bass on those things. But again, I just never caught any absolute giants. But I mean, there's reasons that they caught them. I'm looking for this one bait. I can't remember what it's called, or I would just tell you. I know they had the ones that had the collared bills on them for a while, and they've discontinued a few of their collars, like the crawdad ones that look like they ran backwards. They were all gone. I'm still diving through here, and I probably won't be able to find it. It'll probably be this time next week when I find the actual bait that I like to throw. But eventually I'll find it. And I know you guys are not seeing this, so you're like, what are you even looking at? I will show you when I find it. They have some really good bluegill patterns in that bait, the 7. And obviously these are not the glass shad wraps. The difference between the glass shad wrap and the one that I'm talking about now, the glass shad wrap was kind of a see-through bait. Man, surely they didn't discontinue it on me. I think I went through every color bait here. It's probably one of those deals where I throw a 7 or 5 and really think it's a 7. I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, and I'm not going to waste your guys' time anymore unless I can just find it right off the rip here. I don't know. Maybe this is like that Mandela effect, thinking that I actually have a collar and I don't. Anyway, the belly of it is orange, and it's like a shad pattern. And I'm almost through this whole list, and I do not see it anymore. So I'm thinking they either discontinued it or I'm missing it. Man, that sucks. Anywho, I don't know. Shad wraps are awesome. Oh yeah, especially the pre-Rapala ones. Which reminds me, guys, if anybody is big Wigglewort fans, I have some that I like to get rid of. I got like 3 original Wiggleworts and like 7 Magnums. I'd probably take $100 bill for them all. I'll even ship them to you for $100. They are decent. They're decent collars. I can send you pictures if you're interested in them. Yes, I have. Matter of fact, I started buying them and using them after Casey Ashley won the Classic down in Hartwell on them. They don't make them anymore. I have several of these things. You can easily make them yourself. I'm gonna look see if I can find it. I don't know if I can. I'm gonna guess that these things are gone, but it was a swim jig. I don't even know who made them. It was Fred Rumbanis Boom Boom Plus is what it was called. I'll try one more time. No, it was an underspin swim jig. It was just like you could get them up to 1 ounce, but I think they were just. I think the one I liked usually was 3/8 of an ounce, and it was a swim jig that had an underspin underneath it. And I caught the absolute biggest sack of bass that I've ever caught in my entire life at Yates or at Grayson Lake on them 15 years ago. Between Kyle and I, we had 19 and a half pounds and 5 fish at Grayson. And if you think about, if you know anything about Grayson, that is an absolute hammer of a sack. I caught one that was a little over 6 pounds and one that was right at 5 on this chartreuse underspin swim jig. It was springtime. We just found them. I can't say anything about it. Like the water was weird. Kyle and I were out at Grayson the week before, so 7 days before, prior to this tournament fishing. And I swear to God, I'm not lying to you when I say this. It was 19 feet above Summer Pool because of flood water and snow runoff and all this stuff. And if you know anything about Grayson Lake, when you put in the Bruin ramp, you have to like go forever down in there. And I'm telling you, there was so much water in there that we almost couldn't get the boat in the water because you couldn't get turned to come down. It was just so much water in Grayson. It was crazy. It was chocolate milk, like barn door brown. And we go in there and we don't catch a fish the whole day. We never got a sniff. I'm talking fishing 20 foot up into trees that normally don't have water anywhere close to them. Just so much stuff to find and so much stuff to get around. Water temperatures probably in the higher 40s, lower 50s. At this point, it was March. The very next week, they sucked that water down from 15 to 19 foot above Summer Pool all the way down to Winter Pool in 7 days. So we're looking at probably close to 30 foot of water being relieved from that lake, being drained out the dam. And we just found this one spot where we like to fish. And what was weird about it is the fish never bit until afternoon. We caught almost 20 pounds of fish in 2.5 hours. It's crazy. Yep, that's really good stuff there, man. Very good there. I like translucent bait this time of year as well. I also think I like mat baits, especially if you're talking about jerk baits. The Shimano Zumverno. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me preach about that bait, but I'm telling you, it is an absolute fish catching machine. 2 of my favorite colors, Matt Pro Blue and Macchiato, they catch them. Stun a jerk bait, that's right. I like that one too. If you're talking about jerk baits, you got to say the top dog in there, and that's Mega Bass. Re-Range 110 made by Jackal is a really good one. Obviously, the Zumverno Shimano makes one called the World Minnow. It's like a 120 size. I'm not a huge fan of that. I like smaller jerk baits, especially in this area because the fish are just smaller. Yeah, 2 3/4 rage swimmer. Can't beat that one. Man, to be honest with you, I have worse luck on beautiful days. It's just something about it, especially if I'm smallmouth fishing. I just think that they have their. So, it's kind of weird. If I am smallmouth fishing like at Lake St. Clair, they absolutely thrive on sunshine. You can go there and wreck fish. You might catch 200 in one day if there's 3 people on your boat. You might catch 200. If it's absolutely beaten down, sunny, and there's no clouds in the sky and no wind, man, they just seem like they eat like crazy. Down here, especially in the largemouth areas, I just feel like the nastier the better, man. Like there's sometimes you watch Josh Jones fishing like some of the biggest fish he's ever caught in his life, which are, by the way, hammers. You're talking 15 plus pounds of solid largemouth, have been so nasty that he's the only guy on the lake. And, there's something to be said about that. One, it's less pressure. Two, I just think the nastier the better, man, especially for largemouth. I think I heard somebody say it the other day, and it really rang true for some of the fish that I've tried to catch, and I've been lucky enough to catch. He said a largemouth will starve itself to death to keep from eating a bait, and I think that is 100% true, man. But if you drag something by a smallmouth or a spot, a lot of times they'll just eat it out of spite. Preferably me, if I had to pick my best conditions ever, I want to be early spring. Water temperature is going to be in that 50 to 55 degree range. I want overcast. If I want to throw a spinnerbait, has to have some chop to the water, has to have some wind. I just feel like that they just eat that spinnerbait better when there's a little, if it's not bluebird skies and there's some chop to the water. I just feel like they eat it a little better. I just don't think they can see it as well, obviously. And that's another thing about largemouth. I think that's why they bite a little bit better, because you need everything in your playing field to best them. Smallmouth and spots, they are a lot more sight feeders. They're opportunistic feeders. So that sunlight really helps them find their prey, in my opinion. Fellas, one more time before we hop off here. Again, this episode brought to you by Hannah Sublet Insurance Broker, protecting your health, securing your future. Give her a call, 740-456-7944. If you need some health or life insurance, she can sell Kentucky, West Virginia, or Ohio. Again, say it every show, but it's true. She saved my buddy $800 a month the other day on health insurance, which was crazy. So a really good deal. She's been one of my friends for a long time. She went above and beyond this year sponsoring the trip, which, by the way, before we hop off here, I have began preliminarily planning the trip 2026, and I'll show you kind of roundabout what I'm trying to do. I think I probably showed you this, guys, before, but I hope not. Some of you guys probably know this. Most of you, I'm sure, do. But I have a goal to catch a bass in all 50 states before I die. Now, hopefully that's a lot later than it is now. But right now, I'm about 27 states deep, I think. I've caught bass in 27 states in the United States. I'll be 42 years old in March, so I got a pretty good jump on things. Now, after this trip going this spring in 2026, it'll be like end of May, 1st of June. I'm going 2 weeks. Taking my truck, going out west, pulling my boat, going to be, making videos along the way, eating, steaks and things, whatever I can find. Maybe, go fry some fish if we catch some crappies and things. Do some catch, clean, cook videos and things. I think Dusty is going to try to go with me again this year for 2 solid weeks. The 1 week deal was fun, but man, it was a lot of work and a lot of effort. And talking about being freaking beat down after that when I got back, is that it was crazy the amount of when I got back from that vacation, I needed a vacation because it wrecked my body, and Dusty's too. We drove all the way back from Louisiana, straight back, just stopping for gas. It was like 14 hours straight through. Crazy day. But we had a great time. We're going to plan on 2 weeks this time, so we don't have to drive ourselves so hard. I'm definitely going for 2 weeks. I think Dusty's going to try to as well. If not, you're going to see me out there. However, pull up Google Maps here to show you what's up. So up until this point, on the East Coast, I have a couple up here on the right hand side. I need Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts. These 4 right here. So that's going to have to be a late summer trip. It just doesn't get that warm up there that quickly. I went and built some guitars in Connecticut here. Actually, I'm lying to you. I've already checked off Massachusetts. I have Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey here is what I actually am lacking. New Jersey, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And which is weird, I have Florida to check off yet. So those would be the 5 that's on the East Coast. Florida is going to be easy when Misty and I travel there fairly often. I just don't fish down there much because when we're down there, it's usually like July and it's like 200 degrees. But I'm going to be setting that up soon. If I zoom in here a little bit, I have caught fish in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, obviously Kentucky, Indiana, Michigan. This past trip in the springtime, Dusty and I drove from here in Southern Ohio. We went out here and we started right here in Arkansas, Missouri line where Bull Shoals is at. We fished here for 2 days, or we actually fished here one day, drove over to Oklahoma, somewhere about right here. This is Lake Tenkiller, fished there a day, and then we went down to Lake Fork. We fished there 4 days, and then went to Caney Creek in Louisiana. So that allowed me to check off I checked off Mississippi with Dusty 2 years ago. I caught a meanmouth in Mississippi down there. It was pretty cool. My first meanmouth, and it also the only fish I ever caught in Mississippi. So in this last trip, we checked off Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. So those 5 states were checked off this past time. Going forward this year, my goal is to come over here and travel up this state border-ish because the Mississippi River actually flows right up that line. Matter of fact, that's kind of what separates the states is that Mississippi River. So that's fairly simplistic for me to go up through there. There's not a great amount of lakes in Illinois, and I've heard some people tell me to go here and there, and I may do that anyway. But the whole deal is I have 2 weeks to check as many states off as possible. So I'm going to kind of come directly over here around St. Louis and start fishing here. Probably be like in this area right here because I already have Missouri. What I want to do is come up through here. It's actually probably going to be somewhere in this area right here where I can check off Illinois, Ohio, or Iowa, and Wisconsin all at the same time. Because again, you can see the Mississippi River flows all the way up through there. So that'll give me the reason to catch that. Now, Wisconsin, I might jet over to Lake Michigan and fish a couple days. Hard to say. But then we're going to go northwest farther, and we're going to spend a little bit of time here at this big brown or white or this big lake here, which is Mille Lacs, obviously home of the Giants. And then we're going to travel over here somewhere in North Dakota. Now, there's Devil's Lake up here, which seems to be the biggest. I'm not sure. I don't know how far this is through here, to be honest with you. You're probably talking a couple hours at least travel there because North Dakota is such a giant state. But we're going to be working our way down, hitting South Dakota. There seems to be some lakes here that are closer to the line. There's also, some rivers and things here that we're definitely going to be hitting. And then we're going to hopefully finish off the trip by hitting Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas. So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 states that I can check off in 2 weeks. Now, that is going to be a hellfire and brimstone, just as hard as I can push my truck and as hard as Dusty and I can push our bodies. But that's it, man. That's where we're going. Guys, appreciate you sticking around for this episode of Honor the Line. Till then, we're going to start planning the trip. We will not be live next week. We're going to let everybody get off and kind of hang out for Christmas and spend some time with their families. We will not be live next Tuesday, just for the simple fact is getting close to Christmas, and people are going to have a lot of stuff to do. We'll pick back up. Probably, let's look at the calendar here. That will be putting us back on, we'll probably not be live for the next 2 weeks. We'll probably pick back up on January 6th because next week is the 23rd, and the week after that is the 30th, which is going to be the night before Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. So with that being said, we'll probably sign off for 2 weeks. But got some really cool guests coming on the show. We got some feelers out there, so you're not just hearing me, you're hearing some folks that actually know what they're talking about. That being said, guys, head over to Borders, pick up some new stuff. By the way, if you're looking for a last-minute gift for an angler, Borders has just now got them in Gill waterproof gloves. They come up to about right here. They are phenomenal. They're like $40 a pair. Promise you worth every penny. They are awesome. They have a large and extra large over there, I think. Definitely something you can pick up before Christmas. So with that being said, guys, you know what to do. If you can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of On Another Line Live. We truly appreciate your support, and we couldn't do it without all the amazing folks at home watching week after week. A big thank you goes out to our sponsors, who help make this show possible. Malone's Marine, Borders Sporting Goods, Solar Bat Sunglasses, Picasso Lures, Shimano, and Columbia Sportswear. Their partnership allows us to keep bringing you the content you love. We'll see you next time on Another Line. Until then, get out there and lean on them.